Welcome, everyone, to another chilling tale that will leave you questioning the line between the living and the dead. Tonight, I'm going to take you on a journey to a place where the veil between this world and the next is thin too thin. Prepare yourself for one of the most unsettling ghost stories you've ever heard. Dim the lights, settle in, and listen closely as we explore the Haunting of Greystone Manor. Before going to the story, please subscribe to my channel. I get motivated to make more scary and horror story. The story begins. Greystone Manor had always been a grand estate, built in the late 1800s. The sprawling mansion sat on a remote cliffside, its Gothic architecture standing in stark contrast to the wild landscape that surrounded it. For over a century, the manor had been passed down through generations of the same family, the Eldridges. But as beautiful as the estate was, rumors swirled that something sinister had been lurking within its walls almost since the day it was built. It was said that Mary Eldridge, the youngest daughter of the original owners, had mysteriously vanished one stormy night in 1892. The family claimed she had run away, desperate to escape an arranged marriage to a wealthy older man. But locals whispered a different story, one far darker. They believed that Mary had discovered a family secret, one that, in the wrong hands, could have brought ruin to the Eldridges. Some claimed that in her efforts to expose the truth, she had been silenced forever. Her body was never found, and the family remained tight-lipped about her disappearance. Years went by, and Greystone Manor earned a reputation. Strange lights were seen flickering in the windows at night, when no one was home. Unexplained noises, footsteps, whispers, even faint sobbing were reported by visitors and staff alike. But these strange occurrences never quite reached the point of being more than an eerie story until the summer of 1954. That year, the last remaining member of the Eldridge family, Edward, sold the manor to a wealthy businessman named Charles Peterson. Peterson had grand plans to turn Greystone Manor into an exclusive hotel, capitalizing on its isolated beauty and historical charm. He invested heavily in restoring the mansion to its former glory, hiring a crew of over a dozen workers to live on the property while they completed the renovations. At first, everything seemed to go smoothly, but as the weeks wore on, strange incidents began to happen. Tools went missing, and the workers heard strange sounds at night, whispers and creaking footsteps, despite the mansion being completely empty after dark. One of the workers, a man named David, claimed he saw a figure in one of the upper windows, a pale woman with dark hair, staring out at him with hollow eyes. He rushed inside to investigate, but when he reached the room, it was empty and the air was unnaturally cold. David was a practical man, not easily shaken, but this experience left him rattled. He wasn't the only one. Over the following weeks, more and more workers reported strange sightings. Shadows that moved on their own, doors that slammed shut without warning, and cold drafts that seemed to come from nowhere. But the most disturbing incident happened to one of the younger workers, a man named Tom. Late one night, after most of the crew had gone to bed, Tom heard the faint sound of a woman's voice coming from the ballroom. Thinking one of his co-workers was playing a prank on him, he grabbed a flashlight and headed towards the sound. As he entered the ballroom, the air grew colder, and the voice became clearer, a soft, sad whisper repeating the same phrase over and over, "Find me, find me." Tom froze. He could see his breath in the air, the temperature now impossibly low for a summer night. As he turned to leave, the flashlight flickered and died. Panic surged through him as he fumbled for his lighter, trying to strike a flame. But before he could, something touched him, a light, icy touch on his arm, followed by a cold breath against his neck. He spun around, his heart racing, but saw nothing. In the distance, the whispering continued. Terrified, Tom ran back to his room, packed his bags, and left the estate the next morning. He never returned. Word quickly spread through the town, and the workers began to leave one by one, refusing to stay another night in the haunted manor. Charles Peterson, desperate to finish the renovations, hired a new crew, but they too experienced the strange occurrences. No one would stay long enough to complete the project. In a last-ditch effort, Peterson contacted a well-known paranormal investigator, Dr. Evelyn Hayes, who had a reputation for solving some of the most baffling cases of hauntings. Dr. Hayes arrived at Greystone Manor with her assistant, planning to spend 3 nights in the mansion. She set up equipment throughout the house, cameras, EVP recorders, thermal sensors, and waited for nightfall. The first night was quiet. There were no disturbances, and Dr. Hayes began to wonder if the stories were exaggerated. But on the second night, as she reviewed the footage from the previous evening, something caught her eye. In the dining room camera, there was a flicker of movement, something pale and shadowy drifting across the screen. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Intrigued, Dr. Hayes decided to focus her investigation on the dining room. That night, as she sat in the darkened room, asking questions into the empty air, her EVP recorder picked up a response. A faint, almost inaudible whisper. "Help me." Dr. Hayes' heart raced. "Who are you?" she asked. For several moments, there was silence. Then, just as she was about to give up, the whisper returned. "Mary." Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped dramatically. The candles she had lit flickered and went out. Dr. Hayes felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow, as if the weight of a century's worth of grief had settled on her shoulders. She asked one final question. "What do you want?" There was a long pause before the answer came, this time clearer than before. "Find me." That night, Dr. Hayes dreamed of Mary Eldridge. In the dream, she saw the young woman standing in a hidden room behind the manor's library, her eyes wide with fear. When Dr. Hayes woke the next morning, she was convinced she had seen something real. She immediately went to the library and began searching for a hidden passage. After hours of searching, she found it, an old, dusty door concealed behind a bookcase. Inside the hidden room, Dr. Hayes made a grisly discovery. The remains of a young woman, her skeletal hand clutching a locket with the initials Emmy engraved on it. It was Mary Eldridge. The story became clear. Mary had been murdered, her body hidden away to keep the family's dark secret from being exposed. But her spirit had never left. After Mary's remains were given a proper burial, the hauntings at Greystone Manor ceased. Charles Peterson was finally able to complete the renovations, and the manor was opened as a hotel the following year. But those who stay there say that on quiet nights, when the wind is just right, you can still hear the faint sound of a woman's voice whispering from the shadows. Thank you. And there you have it, the tragic and haunting tale of Greystone Manor. It's said that once a restless spirit finds peace, they leave our world behind. But in the case of Mary Eldridge, perhaps her gratitude keeps her close to the place she called home for so many years. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is it possible for a spirit to linger even after they found peace? Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe out there. You never know what might be watching you from the shadows.